We're hunting with Elk Valley Bighorn Outfitters in British Columbia this week. I booked the hunt 3 years ago, so we've been eagerly anticipating this hunt for quite some time. Bighorn tags are pretty difficult to come by, so a lot of advanced preparation for these trips are necessary. I got into sheep hunting about 6 years ago. I actually booked the trip as motivation for recovery from some of my surgeries from bone cancer. I was diagnosed with bone cancer in my late teenage years. I went through a couple of years of chemotherapy, some pretty major surgeries where I had half my femur, my entire knee, and tibia replaced with a prosthetic. So as motivation to get through some of the rehab that I had to go through, I actually went and booked a sheep hunt, knowing that it would probably be one of the most difficult obstacles for me in that condition. So I used that as the motivation to get back onto the mountain and start chasing sheep. Day one was pretty typical arrival. We checked the rifles, sighted them in. My rifle for this hunt is a 6.5 PRC. We built this one in the Magnus stock with a standard length barrel, 24 inches, and the Leupold Mark V 5 to 25 power scope. We went a little heavier on the gun on this build just for the nature of, that weight versus long distance performance is a fine balance. I like to stay in that 9-pound range. I was probably a little bit heavier on this build than some of my other mountain rifles, but the confidence that this particular rifle gives me in long range shooting, I was willing to sacrifice that extra half a pound in my pack than going with a little bit lighter setup. And so I brought the 6.5 PRC for the sheep hunting and a 30 Nosler for goat and elk. We're getting situated, gonna get the truck packed up here, horses loaded, and then head off to the trailhead in the mountains, and then from there, a few hour ride into the camp that we're gonna be based out of for the rest of the trip. And we'll get organized and head out tomorrow into the field. I've got quite a bit of experience with horses. I rode horses a bit growing up, and a lot of these backcountry trips I've been on, most of them have been horseback, so I'm fairly comfortable on the horses. The biggest drawback for me with my limitations in my knee is just the trotting. A lot of the horses, especially on the way home, when they're ready to get back, they do a lot of trotting. So that puts a little impact on my knee, especially after a long day of hiking. It can be a bit uncomfortable, but all in all, the horses, they really make the trip a lot more enjoyable. You just can cover so much more ground with the horses, and when you've got good horses, you can get through some amazing terrain, stuff that's hard to do on foot. Well, we just got to our our second base camp, about an hour ride in here, and we're gonna set up in a cabin here tonight, get situated, and we won't ride out till tomorrow to where we're gonna hunt, but start glassing here from camp and get settled. We still got another day and a half before opening day, so we'll get in there tomorrow, see if we can lay our eyes on some sheep and get ready for game plan opening morning. You never know what to expect weather-wise on these trips. We rode into camp, it was 77 degrees, and then after a few days, the weather went downhill. It was pretty much cloudy, rainy, cold. We saw some snow. The things that you expect to see when you're in high altitude. Well, we just set up tarp here. We're getting some forecast for some rain that's moving in and starting to get socked in kind of periodically as some of these cloud covers blowing through. We've been watching a band of rams up on the side of this face, been moving back and forth through the timber and over the ridge and back. We've got another day before we can get up on them for the opening day. So we're sitting back here with a vantage point trying to get a better look at them. There's two really nice rams in the group, and we're hoping they stay put so we can make our move up tomorrow and then hopefully be on them for opening morning. But right now we're just kind of passing the time. It's a long day of glassing and doing projects at camp. But tomorrow we'll be packing up and heading out of here. Day 2, we wake up and camp. Lots of fog, rain, weather patterns shifting. Really hard to do scouting when you can't see the mountain. When you're sitting in camp with nothing to do because the mountain's fogged in, you got to find something to be productive with. I can't just sit around the whole time. So outfitter just built a brand new camp there. We were the first people to stay in this cabin. There were still some unfinished things to do like painting. So we lended a hand and did a little painting for the day. The next day we woke up early. We were still socked in from the weather. Weather hadn't changed at all. Still drizzling rain, quite a bit of wind, and a very low cloud cover. We decided that we'd move up further up the ridge while we were fogged in the event that when it lifted, the rams may bend in that basin there that we had been glassing them a few days prior. The fog lifted midday. Sun started to shine. No sight of the rams at all. They were nowhere to be found in that basin. One of the guides, Darren, had spotted 2 rams bedded. We were looking at 8 rams. Only 2 were there. Both appeared to be legal rams. So we decided to make a move. We needed to hike clear over to the next drainage, so we side-hilled around some pretty nasty terrain. The first part wasn't so bad. It was mostly grassy slope, but as we moved into the shale, we had to take our time because it was a little bit tougher footing and pretty slow moving across there to get to where the rams were. We had to move across quite a bit of shale to get in position. As we closed the distance to the ridge line, we got a little bit closer and were able to peek off, and 2 rams that were bedded down below us. About 354 yards is what we ranged them at. And so we started to get into position. We had ranged them at 354 yards with the angle compensation because it was so steep going down. It was a 314-yard hold. So I dialed in between my 325 and 300 mark, so it was about 312 and a half is what I actually dialed the scope to. The first shot hit its mark, it drilled him and he dropped instantly. Ram down, baby. Bighorn down. Big bighorn down. Holy smokes. Sorry, bro. Second day Oh, we've been on the trip for 5 days now, but second day of the trip, weather lifted. Spotted 2 rams, one big one we were looking for. And we busted our butt, hiked back all the way over to the other side over here, up and over one drainage to the next. And they were bedded down below us. Wasn't a super far shot, 314 yards. It was straight downhill. That was the compensation, 314s. About 400, I think, roughly. But yeah, pretty pumped up, man. I tried this in Alberta a few years ago. We went 3 weeks, didn't even see a legal ram. And not only did we get a legal ram, we got maybe a trophy of a lifetime here. It's just an absolute giant. Looking forward to putting my hands on this thing. My trusty Gunworks, shooting a 6.5, or just a 6.5 PRC. I mix them up sometimes because I have a 6.5 by 284 as well. This is 6.5 PRC and the Magnus stock, carbon barrel titanium action, and that new Leupold Mark 5 HD 5 to 25. I shot him at 8 power though. And did the job, 1 shot, 1 kill. There's the bolt, prove it. I had the scope so magnified I didn't see the immediate impact, but as soon as I got back on him and seen what happened, I was pretty excited. Now the work begins. We got to get down to him. It's quite a big boulder field to traverse down to where he was at. As we worked our way down to the ram, it started to set in as I could see him as I got closer. He was giant. We were fortunate he didn't tumble very far. He laid up against a tree there and was in a pretty good, easy access place for us to get him quartered up and get him out of there. Holy smokes. Holy crap. I think we're gonna move his head, huh? Holy moly. Get my pack off. When I got my hands on those horns, I couldn't believe it. You know, my expectations weren't that I was gonna shoot something of that magnitude, and it was just surreal.
Are you satisfied with the ram?
Yeah, I'm pretty tickled. The thing's giant, a lot bigger than what I was probably expecting.
Yeah.
So we sure got a treat here. It's just a beautiful ram. You don't see too many flaring out curls like this in a bighorn this age, huh? They just rub them off.
No, for a ram to keep that kind of horn length right to 10 years old is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I started to take a little work on this one in brooming, but the other one didn't do too much damage to it at all.
You know, you always start these bighorn hunts just hoping to find a full curl ram, let alone
a curl and a half, huh? It's
this guy is a monarch.
unbelievable.
Ram of a lifetime right there.
Heck yeah. Yeah, luckily we didn't tumble him down the hill. You know, he's in a pretty decent spot. I could stop without rolling too far. Perfect shot, dropped him in his tracks, and you know, makes it worth the practice.
Hard work, patience, good shooting, paid off.
Yeah. Well, fix him, we're get him
We got a long ways out.
cleaned up.
I think we better get
Or it's dark on us. It's probably gonna be dark on us anyways.
Yeah, it'd be a late night, but it's worth it.
All right, man. Let's get moving. Once we got them quartered up, it was getting pretty late. We were losing daylight, so the hike back was going to be in the dark, which is not ideal. And we were going to have to go down and follow the creek bed back, which ended up being a pretty crummy route. Took us about 4 hours to get back. You know, moving through a lot of boulder fields, up some cliffs, through a lot of bushwhacking, a lot of timber, and then as we made it back, switched back and crisscrossing, you know, across the creek to get back to camp. We were just wore out and beat. Well, we went driving around this morning, up and down the river here along the mountain range, and looking for billy goats. And we spotted quite a few, some in some spots that were pretty tough to get to, others in some spots that we might be able to get to. So drove back to camp. We're gonna get the horses saddled up, get them in the trailer, drive down the range a little bit here, and go for a little ride, see if we can't get within range of a few of these billy goats and see what we can get done. So kind of a so-so day weather-wise, getting a little rain, a little cloud cover. Hopefully we don't get socked in, but we'll be optimistic and see what happens. The terrain was breathtaking. It was unbelievable. You go from, you know, heavy timber to beautiful meadows, and as you hike higher into the rocks, you just get these sheer cliff faces, snow-capped peaks, a lot of little lakes that are up there 7,000 to 8,000 feet underneath the bases of these sheer cliffs. It's just pretty incredible. The sheer steepness of some of these mountains is, it can be intimidating. Side hilling is pretty tough on some of the stuff, and especially tough for me with my knee, with the surgeries and stuff. I have a lack of stability left to right on that knee. So as you get into the side hill, downhill hiking, yeah, I've just got to take my time and rely on the hiking sticks quite a bit to help give myself a nice point of anchor and also stability. We've got two different goats spotted, one longhorn nanny and one looks like pretty mature billy. We just kind of slipped around here to try to get a better vantage. Now we can't see the billy, we see the nanny's way up there. So we're just trying to kind of feed around the base of the mountain right here. Pretty windy. I don't know that we'll be taking too long of a shot. We'll just keep looking around here, see if we can get our eyes back on them. Last day. We're gonna head home tomorrow. So we pulled out on that billy last night, and we just couldn't get in a good spot to kill him. He was just too steep. It would have been a nasty fall. We've got a few more located this morning, and so we're gonna take the horses and ride back in and see if we can't get a little bit closer or in a better spot today. First day in after the billy that we had spotted from a distance. We had quite a long horse ride, and then followed by a pretty long hike. We got up into position, and the billy wasn't that far away. I think I might have ranged him somewhere in a 400-yard mark, but he was up on a cliff that was so high that there's no way that we could have made the shot and him not be very damaged on his way down. And we didn't want to risk having broken horns and in a really difficult recovery. So we decided to take a pass. We watched him for the remainder of the evening, and since he didn't move, we just hiked out of there. We decided to give it another try on the goat hunting. We went and spotted some more from a distance, made a move in, another long horseback ride in. When we hiked up over the top and got into position, we couldn't find the billy anywhere. So we decided to move drainage over where we spotted one other billy. As we got over into the other drainage, we saw all kinds of goats. They were in various different points. Most were too high to have access to, but there just wasn't any good billies, nothing mature enough that we could make a play. So we decided to back out and hike back and call it a day. All in all, I was very impressed with Bighorn Outfitters. I had a great time hunting with Sam and Darren. They made the hunt very enjoyable. Great people to hang out with, lots of stories. They're just great hunters. They work hard. They're very accommodating, and they put the time and effort in. That's what it takes. I don't know that it's sunk in yet what I actually harvested. You know, my expectations are always more about having a good experience and the most out of the adventure. Never been a trophy hunter. I mean, it's icing on the cake to be able to take something of this magnitude. I don't think it's really sank in yet. I mean, you look at those horns and they're incredible. Bighorn sheep's incredible to begin with, but to take one of that caliber is it's once in a lifetime.